We are live. This
All
is the
right.
Digital our 24-hour online global conference, and the clock is ticking. We've passed the 12th hour, and we've passed the 14th hour, and we're going for a record.
Mm,
Karen, this has really been great organizing this alongside you. And
I have really enjoyed it as well.
all right, it's been energy sapping, but it's been really, really very interesting.
What else are we
So
going to do with energy, right?
you said,
What else are we going to do with energy, right?
oh,
Might as
I
well use it
know.
up.
Yeah. All right. So now we're going to. Okay, someone was even asking that shall we keep waiting or visit later. So sorry if you've been waiting for long. We were waiting for our presenter, our keynote speaker actually,
Hmm.
Dr. Nathan Langwad, the Chief Education Officer of We Video, but uh, we've not been able to get across to him online. Perhaps he's in one busy schedule, one or the other. Yeah, so, but in that place, we have a very, very huge person. So, we do talk about Allyson Apsey.
Sure. Allison is a wonderful storyteller, and she believes in serendipity. And all of her talks and everything she does describes what serendipity is, and she lives it, and she writes about it, and she encourages students to look for serendipity. So I'm pretty excited to hear her message today. And she recorded this for us so that we could use it in the teachathon. She is an educator and a mom, and she lives in Michigan in the US, I believe. And but she's a really sweet person and very strong and just a really great speaker. So I'm excited about this session.
Exactly. So we're going to be playing the recorded session of Allyson Apsey right now. Enjoy.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Allyson Apsey. Oh my goodness, I am so excited to be here with you today. I can't even tell you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to learn and grow together.
Mm,
So,
oops.
so I'm going to share a little bit more about myself as we progress through this keynote together. I just want to make sure that you understand there is no place I'd rather be than right here with you right now. So that begs the question, how do we greet students when they enter the classroom? Do they know that there is no place we'd rather be? Think that through. How did you know there's no place I'd rather be than right here, right now with you? You could tell by my smile, right? By my enthusiasm. You could tell because I told you there's no place I'd rather be than right here, right now with you. So when we greet students in the morning, do we say, there is no place I'd rather be than with you right now? This is going to be such an exciting day. Or do we say, please open your books to page 86? Do we greet them, handshake, high five, and hug? Maybe not. Maybe an elbow bump or an air hug, but maybe not a huge smile, right? We need to smile with our eyes. And now more than ever, we need to be explicit with our words and telling people how we feel and how excited we are about being with them. So I want to share that this is me. This is my kind of status quo demeanor, is excited and happy and optimistic and enthusiastic. And this is one of my fifth grade teachers who's just like going along for the ride with me. He's awesome. But this is also me. Can you tell which one? It's my mom and my brother and my sister and me. Yeah, I'm that one, the most surly one. And you guys, if you look, this is me at, I'm going to point this out right there, at Epcot. So this is me at 12 or so at Disney. Like, I was not born with this demeanor. I was born more like this. And it is work every single day to like lift myself up so that I can help those around me discover the best in themselves. And that could be like listening to inspirational YouTube videos or my favorite music or words from people I admire or self-talk, whatever needs to happen in order for me to approach the day focusing on not what I need to accomplish, but who I need to be. Because if I'm focused on the who I need to be, the what comes along somehow. But if I'm focused on what I need to accomplish, I'm not always the person that I want to be as I work to accomplish that. So, who are you when people first encounter you, like their first impression? What would it be? Who are you? And then, how do you let them know? Do you use body language? Right now, because we're in this, kind of unique situation where we're covered with masks. But even with a mask, how could you tell someone who you are? Again, body language, the words we use, the tone we use, all of those things are so important right now. And we send a message with everything we do. We share with others who we are. So I am Allyson Apsey, as I said. I have had the pleasure of publishing 4 books, you guys. This is so exciting. A dream I never dreamed come true. My first book is called The Path to Serendipity. My second book is a picture book that tells the origin of the word serendipity, and it's called The Princes of Serendip. My third book is called Through the Lens of Serendipity, helping others discover the best in themselves, even when life has shown them its worst. And then my fourth book, which is a middle grades realistic fiction chapter book, is called The Serendipity Journal. So you're probably noticing a pattern here. You're very intuitive. I also have a TEDx talk that's called Serendipity is Everywhere. And I'm a writer, I'm an artist. So I get to take liberty. I can make things up, right? I can make up my own definition of serendipity. And I did fall in love with the idea of serendipity in that 2001 movie called Serendipity, starring John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale. So, but to me, as I fell more and more in love with this idea, it became more of a mindset, like this idea of looking for happy accidents and beautiful lessons in everything we experience. And if you look at the comments to my TED Talk, you'll see that people are like, well, that's not really what serendipity means, but I am an artist, I am a writer, and so I take some liberties with the definition of serendipity. And to me, if we go about our lives looking for happy accidents and beautiful lessons in everything we experience, and when I say everything, I mean everything. I mean, from our deepest sorrows to our greatest joys, and then everything in between. If we are looking for happy accidents and beautiful lessons all the time, we're going to live richer, more fulfilled, wiser, and absolutely happier lives. So let's dive into this idea of a serendipity mindset and the idea of helping others discover the best in themselves. Whenever I have the opportunity to speak to a group of incredible educators, I hope that you leave with an aha, like, oh, I hadn't thought of it like that you leave with some ideas to implement, and you leave with some celebrations of yourself. Because so often we go into like learning opportunities and professional development and think, okay, I'm going to add that to my to-do list. I'm going to add that to my to-do list. But you're already pretty incredible. And we need to give ourselves some pats on the back, even as we're learners, or maybe even especially as we're learners. Because when we feel strong and positive, we feel like we can conquer the world. But when we feel weak and like self-conscious or not good enough, even the smallest challenge can seem huge to us. So we want to be strong and positive and feel powerful, and that we can make great changes happen in our lives. So let's connect. Please share out using the hashtag TeachC24 and my hashtag, which is SerendipityEDU. And if you share out using that hashtag, then we can connect and we can become friends on Twitter or whatever social media you use. So I would love to stay connected. So we're going to talk through a few lessons that will help us help others discover the best in themselves. And one of those is there's always more to someone's story than what meets the eye. We know this, don't we? We do. But do we act upon it every day? I love this quote. It's everyone is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always. A great reminder, Brad Meltzer, every single day. So I'm fighting battles, maybe sometimes with these children here and my husband, but even like more so than any battles that are external, like we fight these battles that are internal all the time. We always are fighting battles. So I just want to introduce you to my family. That's what we talk about, these battles that people are fighting that we know nothing about. But this is my two sons. My son Lane is 18 years old and he graduated from high school. And my son Tyson is 13 and he's in 8th grade. And then my husband Jim, I won't tell you how old he is. But embedded in family is just challenges, right? Embedded in being a parent is challenges. And bless this child of mine for graduating high school, because there were some periods of time when I didn't know if it was going to happen. And this boy qualified for a gifted program when he was in 4th grade, but he struggled in school. He was like a square peg. We're trying to fit into a round hole, and it just didn't work. Like straight D minuses one semester. So it was a huge celebration for him to graduate from high school. And even like, you know, if I look at this from my perspective, like as an educator, as an educational speaker, as an author, as a passionate educator, right? Like all of those things, I'm like, I can't even like fix this for my child. And he's doing great upon graduation. He's working full time. He's taking some classes. Like he is going to be absolutely okay, and there's so many things to celebrate about him. But this is one of the challenges that I've been working through for years that you might not know about, right? Each of you has your own set of challenges that you're working through right now, that you've worked through in the past, that others might not know about. Just think through some of the challenges that you have or people you love have. Does everybody know about those challenges? Probably not. And how does knowing that there's always more to someone's story help in your day-to-day interactions? I often hear responses like, it helps us have grace with each other and patience with each other, and understand that the problem that's right in front of me that seems so huge is not the only problem out there. That's important perspective. And understanding that there's always more to someone's story helps us support the people around us in the way that we want to. I don't know that I've ever met someone who doesn't want good things for themselves and for others around them. They just don't know how to make that happen sometimes. I don't know how to make that happen sometimes. So how can we be even better tomorrow, knowing that there's always more to someone's story than what meets the eye? Understand that people need our grace, not our judgment, is so important. Like if there's anything you can just cross off your to-do list, I would recommend judging others. Be that thing, just cross it off. I don't know, I'm not the judge. There's no reason for me to judge. And sometimes I might be tempted to make a judgment after I watch someone else's behavior, learn something from someone, and I say to myself, like, judge later. Like, worry about that later. Procrastinate that. It's a good thing to procrastinate judgment. And then often when I think about it later on, I can think about it with much more empathy. Another lesson is to stop seeking perfection. It doesn't exist. As we peer through social media, the lens of social media, it does appear that sometimes perfection does exist, but it absolutely does not. Another understanding is we may never know the truth behind that little knowing smile we see. Somebody might appear confident, appear to have it all, and we might never know what their truth is. And we don't need to know everyone's story. We just need to know that they have a story, right? And I feel so strongly that we have a responsibility to help each other and no right to hurt one another. The second lesson in helping others discover the best in themselves is when we treat students the way they've always been treated, they will behave the way they have always behaved. And as a school principal, this is something I need to think about all the time because I'm always whipping out my tools and my tool belts. And sometimes we need way different tools than we have currently in our tool belt. We need to seek out some different tools, and it takes like getting creative, really leaning on a team. And I want to talk to you about a particular student. Oh, no, wait, I'm gonna back up a minute. Okay, but I think of this, when we treat students the way they've always been treated, they will behave the way they've always behaved. I always think of the movie Groundhog Day, right, with Bill Murray. And we know, if you've seen this movie, that Bill Murray, like, he keeps waking up, and it's a repetition of Groundhog Day, and the same exact things happen. And he goes to bed hoping that he wakes up in the morning and he gets to move on to the next day. But it wasn't until he changed within that he was able to move on to the next day. So I'd like to think about that. It's not until we make those changes within that we are going to be able to move on with students, and sometimes with adults too. That whole concept of, Gandhi said, change yourself and the world changes. And it's so true. So I'm going to tell you a story about a student named Beth. And of course, Beth is not a real name, and this is not really her, but this is kind of like her demeanor. It's like upbeat and positive, except when she wasn't. And then it wasn't good. So Beth came to us as a third grader, and in second grade, she was suspended so many times that she wasn't allowed back in her school. And for that to happen, like to a second grade girl, it's pretty significant. So we thought, oh boy, like what's coming to us? And I got some information from her previous school, from the principal, and they worked so hard to help her. They pulled out all of those tools in their tool belt. And I looked at my tool belt and I thought, oh my gosh, if I have the same tools they do and those didn't work, I got to get some different tools in here. And I had this wonderful golden opportunity to start anew. Her teacher had this wonderful opportunity to start anew. Our office staff had this wonderful opportunity. And we knew that Beth was going to be needing to spend a lot of time in this place, which is the Quincy Elementary office. And we thought, well, what if we had her spending a lot of time in the office for reasons other than being in trouble? Because we knew she needed the support. What if we provided her the support before she acted out? Like, could that be possible? And what would that take? We started getting creative, and we decided that Beth could come down to the office whenever she wanted. We actually scheduled in 3 different visits to the office. And in addition to that, she could come down anytime she wanted. And she could come down just for TLC. She could just come down for us to just acknowledge her existence, ask her a question, give her some TLC, and then she can go on her way to the class, back to the class. She could get a snack. We work with a childhood trauma expert, Dr. Stephanie Grant, and she always talks about nobody ever pigs out on carrot sticks. And so having carrot sticks available for any student who's hungry is a great thing. But we have carrot sticks and other things available for Beth. She could come down and get a snack whenever she wanted. This was like mind-blowing to Beth, but she could come down and get a drink of water whenever she wanted. We had a little water bottle with her name on it, and it was in the office, and she'd always have like a sore throat or a tickle in her throat, and she'd come down and get some water, and she'd take a drink and give it back to us, or she'd sit down and drink it, or she'd take the water bottle with her and then bring it back to us later. So this was a good resource, a tool for Beth. Anybody who works in an elementary knows the power of Band-Aids. So Beth could come down and get a Band-Aid on any invisible cut anytime she wanted. So she did spend a lot of time in the office, but it was for support. And it was before she acted out. So it was very pleasant for all of us and for Beth. Beth's teacher, bless her, but she was like, okay, Allyson, but how am I going to teach her? How is Beth going to learn? So we knew that it was really important for Beth's teacher to develop a strong, positive relationship with her. And it was also important to use a few tools. And one of the tools is a power struggle avoider. So when you get into a power struggle with students, either the student wins and you lose, not a good situation. Or you win and the student loses, not a good situation. There's always a loser in a power struggle. So we developed this tactic of avoiding power struggles. But Beth was really good at engaging in power struggles, as we have a lot of students who are really good at engaging in power struggles. So as we crept toward a power struggle, the teacher would identify that and just back away. I'm going to give you a few minutes. And the teacher was actually like, I'm going to give you a few minutes and I need a few minutes. So a few moments is all it usually takes to then come back together and work toward a solution rather than engaging in a power struggle. It's remarkable. So that power struggle avoiders just back out of that situation. Beth's teacher also sprayed liberally this naive body spray every morning. And so when she went into the classroom and Beth gave her normal, like, I'm not doing it kind of look, instead of approaching Beth thinking, oh boy, here we go again, are you kidding me? She approached Beth with like, I know that you want good things for yourself and for others, and you just don't know how to get it. And when we approach a student like that, as opposed to like the exasperation, which is understandable, we can get so much further. So this naive body spray just helps us just naively approach life, just assuming that everybody around us wants good things for themselves and others. Their behavior doesn't always demonstrate that, but we naively assume that they just want good things for themselves and others. Now, this naive body spray is super handy for like our Eeyore colleagues, you know, like Winnie the Pooh. Every probably school has a little bit of an Eeyore, grumpy, like you want to turn the other way as you see them. Well, you just spray this on and you approach that colleague knowing that even though they present themselves so grumpy, so disgruntled, that they really actually want good things for themselves and others. And that can help us approach a colleague differently. The other thing that Beth's teacher used is this emotions deflector. So have you ever had a student in your classroom or in your school who, like, if that student's having a bad day, everybody's having a bad day? Yeah? Just in Michigan? Okay. So this emotions deflector is super powerful because it's like rubber, and it just takes the emotions of others and they bounce off you rather than being absorbed into you. And you get to hang on to your own emotions. We don't have to absorb the emotions of others. We can hang on to our own emotions. We can feel empathy. We can understand where they're coming from, but we can still hang on to the good stuff inside us. And I use this especially in the car with my husband. I won't say he has road rage. He has more like road anger, maybe at red lights or at cars going really slow around him, those kind of things. And so it's really important for me to wear the emotions deflector. So his like negative emotions about traffic, which to me, like, why would you waste your emotions on that? But I get it. Like that's his thing. So I'm able to maintain my own peace and calm as he has some negative emotions about traffic. So that's one of the ways that I use my emotions deflector in my personal life. The other thing Beth's teacher knew is that she needed to create a needs-satisfying classroom environment where Beth could meet her need for power, for fun, for survival, for love and belonging, and for freedom within the functions of what we asked Beth to do. Because Beth was meeting these needs, but she was working against the functions of the classroom to meet the needs. So we needed to give her an opportunity to meet those needs within what we asked her to do. So we had to get to know Beth and get to know like what might help her meet these needs, and then provide opportunities for that in the classroom. So with all of those things put together, Beth ended up spending a lot more time in the classroom than she did in the office as we progressed through the year. I'm proud to tell you Beth wasn't suspended one time. It was not perfect. We had to tweak our plan. We learned that like once an adult reverts back to old behavior, even after months of doing things differently in school, the child will revert back to old behavior really quickly. So we just had to stay conscious of that. And we actually missed her in the office at the end of the year. And then the next year, she didn't even need those supports. We really were able to like kind of turn the trajectory of her school career around, which was powerful learning for all of us who supported her. Now, we have other students who might need a plan like this, or we have other students who just need pieces of a plan like this. And those are the supports that we embed on a day-to-day basis. So here's my question for you. Who is your Beth? And which one of these strategies might work for your Beth. And it doesn't have to be a girl, obviously. It doesn't have to be an elementary student. I've been a principal and a teacher of all levels. And there are Beths or Johnnies or whoever everywhere we go. So which one of these strategies might be helpful for your Beth? What could you do differently tomorrow? So how can we be even better tomorrow, knowing that when we treat students the way they've always been treated, they will behave the way they've always behaved. And one of the best things you can do for a child is to believe them. Like when they say they're feeling badly, they're feeling badly. Even if it's not rational, it doesn't make sense to you. How they're feeling is how they're feeling. And believing them is the first step in building trust. Another thing is being different is not rocket science. Simple ideas can have big impact. Creating a need-satisfying supportive school or classroom helps others be their very best. And we all run out of patience sometimes. Throw it in reverse and back out of that situation, right? To avoid those power struggles that nobody wins. All right, we're going to talk about one more lesson, which is why would someone choose fight, flight, or freeze over pausing and problem solving? And we're going to start just talking about a story that Dr. Nadine Burke Harris talked about in her TED Talk. And it's, imagine you're walking in the forest and you see a bear. Immediately, your heart starts to pound, your pupils dilate, and your airways open up. And you are ready to either fight that bear or run from that bear, or what I would do, which is just freeze. That's wonderful. That body reaction is wonderful and life-saving. If you are in a forest and there is a bear, which I hope to never experience, but that would be handy. The problem is what happens when the bear comes home every night. And this system is activated over and over again. And it goes from being adaptive or life-saving to maladaptive or health damaging. When we talk a little bit more about how our brain works, and we talk about it in terms of like Siegel and Payne in the Whole Brain Child, talked about like downstairs brain versus upstairs brain. And that downstairs brain is that life-saving part of your brain that is going to kick in immediately when it senses danger. And so when that part of your brain is activated over and over again, then your upstairs brain, which is that sound decision making and planning, doesn't have time to kick in because you're already behaving. I've had students like this, like even the smallest ask of the student, like get out a pencil, like that fight, flight, freeze response comes up. First thing, even with the most minute task. And so just teaching students about like how their brains work and how to combat that, what are some strategies they could use to help the thinking part of their brain take over is really helpful. When we teach students, even especially younger students, we use the concept of like a dog brain versus the owl brain. So the dog brain barks, and then the owl brain does the thinking. It's also really good to understand this window of stress tolerance. And I've used this over and over again as I think about educators right now. And this is true for our students. This is true for parents, that there is so much new happening in this world of COVID that our window of stress tolerance is filled. And this is an example from Help for Billy by Heather Forbes. And Heather talks about a student named Billy has a challenging home life, has gone through a lot of trauma and challenges, as compared to a student named Andy, who has a supportive home life, hasn't gone through the same kind of challenges that Billy has. Billy walks into school with that window of stress tolerance almost filled up in just a very, very little room before he gets to his breaking point. So he can't take much stress before he gets to his breaking point, as opposed to Andy, who comes in with very little in that window of stress tolerance and can take a whole lot of stress before he gets to his breaking point. So this is why, like, even with small demands, a student like Billy might reach that breaking point, where a student like Andy can take lots of demands before he gets to the breaking point. One of the things to think about too is that often our students who have challenging backgrounds also have some additional challenges in school, whether those are relationship challenges or learning challenges. So there's a lot of stress coming at a student like Billy often in school. which is understandable why they reach that breaking point and get to that fight, flight, or freeze when we reach that breaking point. We can think about teachers like this. I made this graphic during non-COVID times, and we think about all the things that fill up a teacher's window of stress tolerance. All those things are still there during COVID. We just have additional stressors on top of it, and the family challenges on top of it. So we can understand that it takes just little things to get us to our breaking point every day right now. So that's why grace and understanding and trying to remove some of those other things, like let's not worry about teacher evaluation right now. Like I can say that to my teachers, let's remove that stressor right now and we'll focus on other things. That is a really good thing to think about. And even as we think about our own plates, what things can we remove from our own plates so that we're able to focus or we're able to handle the additional challenges that come each day. So I have some ideas here. Just this is a Monday morning staff check-in that I do each week just to see like, how you doing? Do you need some help? What do you need? How are you viewing this week ahead? Just a quick check-in. I often do face-to-face check-ins. This is like kind of an insurance plan so that I know that I've checked in with everybody. And it's crucial to respond really quickly. So I highlight the responses that I need to go back and see the teachers. Like if they say, help me, I highlight them in yellow. And then after I respond to them, I go back and highlight them, change it to green. So I know that I've responded to everyone I needed to respond to. And I try to do that as quickly as possible because that encourages more and more people to fill out this Monday morning check-in. This is a great kind of thing to use with students as well as staff. So how can we be even better tomorrow knowing why someone might choose fight, flight, or freeze over pausing and problem solving? A couple things. Not every adverse experience has to be traumatic. COVID is a trauma event. It could have been experienced as traumatic by students, by adults. Adults can serve as a buffer to students so that the experience doesn't have to be traumatic for them. But not every student has an adult who's going to provide that kind of buffer. It's important to understand that trauma affects the brain in lasting and significant ways and impacts our students and how they're going to approach even non-problems, how they're going to approach situations in school. It's really good to teach students about how their brains work and how about upstairs brain and downstairs brain work. And there's a lot of resources out there to help with that. And understanding that trauma comes in all shapes and sizes is really important. What could look traumatic may not be. And what looks kind of normal may be a traumatic background. All behavior is purposeful. All of us are working to meet one or more of those 5 basic needs that we talked about, William Glasser's 5 basic needs here. Fun, freedom, power, belonging, and survival. And thinking about which one might be the hardest to meet in school, it might be surprising to you that actually freedom is one of the hardest to meet in school. And right now, as students are confined to their seats a little bit more, less freedom, it's even harder for them to meet. So we need to get creative and giving them opportunities for choice and freedom in the classroom. You can think about your own 5 basic needs and rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the 5 being the strongest, 1 being the weakest, and how strong are these needs in your own life? Like some of us have a really strong need for freedom, and some of us have a strong need for power. Some of us have a strong need for belonging. So how do these rank in your life, and how can you meet your needs on a day-to-day basis? Which need might you have the most trouble meeting for yourself during the school day? You're responsible for meeting your own needs, but we can create environments that are need satisfying, that make it easier for us to meet our own needs, students and staff. Just thinking through some questions. What's one small change you can make in your classroom to make it more need satisfying for students? Knowing that all behavior is purposeful, how can we be even better tomorrow? Well, we can't meet each other's needs, but we can create an environment where they can easily meet their own needs. Our most challenging students often turn out to be our greatest teachers, if that's how we approach it. Freedom and power can be the hardest needs to meet in school. And understand that school must be need satisfying for staff too. And as a principal, I work really hard to make school need satisfying for staff, but I can't do it on my own. It is definitely a team effort. So we're going to skip ahead because we're nearing the end. And just recognizing that the words we tell ourselves have even more power than the words we tell others. We talk to ourselves more than anybody else talks to us. So let's make sure that those words contribute to us being the people that we want to be, and they contribute to us feeling strong and powerful and ready to conquer any challenge that comes our way. We deserve it. I love this Macklemore quote. Don't try to change the world. Find something that you love and do it every day. Do that for the rest of your life, and eventually the world will change. I hope you're leaving this keynote with an aha, with an idea to implement, and some celebrations of yourself, because you're pretty incredible already. All you need to do is move inch by inch toward the person you want to become. That's enough. You are enough. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Again, my name is Allyson Apsey. You can find me at AllysonApsey.com. Email me at AllysonApsey@gmail.com. I'm at Allyson Apsey on all these social medias. And I've just been so honored to have this opportunity to connect with you. So I wish you a wonderful school year and all the blessings. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Allyson. That was fabulous. I really appreciate her message about caring for others and being a leader. That was true leadership that she was showing us. And I just really appreciate her message and how to find Allyson Apsey's work. It's an unusual name. Just look up Serendipity edu and you'll find her. And also on the Teachathon Network site, you can find her page and her video. Probably the YouTube channel as well. So thank you very much. And if you look at the website and you go to the presentations menu, you can find your next session to go to. And we really appreciate you, and we appreciate your time that you're spending with us. And we just hope that you really appreciate that you get something out of each and every one of these sessions. So thank you very much, and I will see you on the other side. See you on another session. Bye-bye.